This is my personal opinion, nothing more, nothing less. I do not speak for anyone but me. I spent hours upon hours debating with people who are very vocally against the use of generative AI of any kind. I will use DeviantArt as my reference point because there it's pretty in your face, so to say. Namely, there is a difference between what I would call prompters, syntographers, hybrid syntographers, and assholes. To me, a prompter is your casual user of generative AI. Those who will make an image of Harambe riding a unicorn for laughs. A syntographer is someone who do not edit their output at all but see the original output as the art form itself. And a hybrid syntographer is someone who edit, tweak, and add other skills to the output from the AI program, changing it somewhat or completely. These are perhaps not the best examples out there, but they were images where I still have the raw files on my computer. If I was a syntographer, I would see the first image as the finished work. But I spend hours editing, making color-correcting vectors, unique brushes, and other methods used in graphic design or digital art. Is my edited version better than the original? I personally think so. 'Cause when I changed it, I made it mine. This is my expression and my vision. But do I think I'm better than the prompters or syntographers? No. I just think I have a different philosophy and approach to AI-generated outputs. I am well aware syntography is basically artificial photography and expression. So in that way, there is no difference between the edited and the unedited image. However, I feel like it's kinda a moot point to divide us into a million subcategories of synth philosophies. So, let's talk about why I made this video. I made this video because I believe there are many users of generative AI who does not see just how destructive their online behavior is for the rest of us. How not wanting to deal with the hostile online environment in reality blinds you to what is in fact going on. We want the bullshit to end and the pointless bullying to stop. We can't ignore it and hope it blows over. No, if we want that, we have to put on our big girl panties and deal with it. Not by degrading ourselves to primates and just sit around on Reddit or Twitter and shitfling all day. No, by rising above. We know AI is not copying, it is not stealing. We are not doing anything illegal. So why are we acting like it? Why do we as a collective have but two solutions to this issue? Like fight or flight? Why are we reduced to instinctive behavior? That is just mad, come on. We are better than this, all of us. Many times I have seen people who are against the use of generative AI ask those who are not, "What do you want?" And most often the answer is unanimous. We just want to be left alone and for the bullying and harassment to end. Now, besides the fact that it's a pretty dumb question, then it's also a pretty stupid answer. 'Cause it might be what we say, but not what we mean. 'Cause I am pretty sure what we in reality want is our own corner of the art community. We want to be seen as a unique form of creators, but creators nonetheless. We can argue about pedantic bullshit such as, what is the definition of art, till the fucking cows come home. No one cares, it's just noise. I don't know a singular person who expresses themselves with generative AI, who calls themselves an artist. Unless they are in fact an artist in their own right and use AI as a supportive tool. There are always two sides to a pancake, and this is no different. This is the only screenshot I am going to include in this video. Just shows how willfully ignorant both sides of this pancake happens to be. I remember reading this and thinking it had to be the wildest statement I ever saw. I have never been called the bad guy before. Imagine someone out there thinks I am the bad guy. Kinda like a comic book villain. My only purpose, to make other people miserable for my evil plans of world domination. I don't feel like the bad guy. I feel like the one always on the defensive, that's what I feel like. I feel like I have the burden of proof at all times. Like no matter what I say or what I do, it automatically becomes untruth because some people painted a narrative of AI users as dishonest. I see no point in defending myself because it doesn't matter if I do or don't. You can't argue with a stone about why it's a stone. I did not make this video to shit on people who don't like generative AI. No, I made this video to point out if we want to be our own entity as syntographers, we need to start with being a little brave and unapologetic. We need to be a community in order to counter the negative online narrative. But in order to become a community, we also have to take a good look at ourselves. 'Cause in order for others to take us seriously, we have to start with ourselves. We have to stop pretending and educate both ourselves and others in what is and what is not proper conduct. I don't mean to come off as preachy or elitist, but we need to separate ourselves from the grifters. 'Cause they are there, we all know it. Now again, both sides of the pancake have their crazies, and while I would consider myself moderate, I am not a centrist either. I am not against traditional art, far from it. And it makes me a little sad that many artists think this is the case. I mean that people who are using AI to express themselves are per definition against traditional art and artistic values and ethics. It doesn't work like that. But what we need to do is to show the artists that we are indeed here to stay. They don't have to like it, but it's going to happen. And this is why I made this video. I made this video trying to appeal to my own would-be community. 'Cause if we want the fuckery to end, we have the same obligation as I would argue the traditional artists have. And that is to distance ourselves from the crazies. We need to call people out among ourselves. We don't owe anyone loyalty who are in fact counterproductive to the core cause. Come on, we know what doesn't work, so how about we tried something new? Have you ever wondered about why so many communities, sites, challenges, and subreddits ban generative AI? I promise you, if you look on the newly added page on DeviantArt, you will know. And as I said in the beginning of this video, I will use DeviantArt as my reference point because it's painfully obvious what our problem as a community is if you spend more than 10 minutes there. And I kinda get it, I mean, many people who create images with generative AI, they hide away in a little snow globe because they don't want to deal with the negativity. But what happens when you hide away and therefore don't see the issue from a meta perspective? Is that you most likely don't realize that you are in fact a part of a problem. I think many of those who I am about to talk about, they simply don't deal with the online debate, and I also don't think they have any sense of community, mainly because there is basically nowhere to go. The mindless overflow. Personally, I find this very problematic and one of the absolute core issues of the negative perception. If you look at the newly uploaded images on DeviantArt, you are bombarded with a fucking tsunami of mediocre series of 50+ images, which are almost identical. There is no quality control from the creator's side. It's like Mid-Journey vomited on my screen. I do not understand why anyone would do that. I want to believe it's because the creator think all the images are good. But come the fuck on. We all know you get perhaps one decent image per every 10 you make. So either you just unload all you got on your DeviantArt without thinking, or you made like 200 images in an afternoon and you have way too much time on your hands. So I am asking you to please have a little self-control. I am not saying you can't upload all those images, but perhaps you could utilize the plural images feature? I mean, you can upload 10 images in one post. And I promise you, no one cares after the third image and even less after the 35th, so why are you doing it? I don't get it. I am not even being funny when I say once I timed it, for science of course. And it took me 5 fucking minutes to scroll past one of these creators' upload in my feed. 5 minutes. That is insane. This absolutely mindless flurry of uploads is also a big reason as to why AI images was banned on several platforms. Everything cool, creative, or interesting drowns in the ocean of mediocrity. And please note, I am not saying these people are doing this to be jerks. I am saying that if you upload 50+ near identical images, 49 of them are bound to be variations. And that is what I personally find mediocre and straight up tedious. I want you to wow me, damn it. Not bore me to death. Pay me $5. I admit to being opinionated when it comes to payment and generative AI. And I might step on some toes when I say I think it's weird to want payment for something you did not touch outside typing a prompt. Believe me, it's a standing joke in my house. If you do something very mundane, you turn around and say $5. It's mad. How can anyone in good conscience ask $5 for shit? I gotta ask, does this work for you? Do you ever sell any of those images to anyone, ever? I highly doubt it. So why do you do it? To me, it comes off as throwing shit at the wall and see what sticks. I was tempted to add another screenshot of exactly what I am talking about, but decided against it. 'Cause I am not here to shame anyone. This is why you have an old image of my own up there, but trust me when I tell you this looks like half of what goes for $5 on my feed today. Unedited, complete with weird AI noise, giraffe neck, odd cropping and everything. I must admit I understand why this comes off as disingenuous and lazy. And so very delusional. I really wish you wouldn't do this. I wish you'd pick the best of the best, prep it and then perhaps sell it for like $1. But what I see is generative AI creators whose entire library of nearly identical images all cost $5 each. And sometimes more, much more. I have seen images that I would scrap without blinking go for something like $20. And what bothers me personally is most of these creators have no clue what DPI is or how to upscale the right way. In theory, this means you could buy an NFT for $20, but you can't even print a fucking postcard without it becoming muddled and grainy. Please do better, people. If you are going to sell prints, at least educate yourself on the quality a potential buyer would expect for a price tag like that. But nothing gives me more second-hand embarrassment than the help support my art membership crap on your front page. Listen, it's the same with generative AI graphics as with everything else. People want something to come back for if they are to subscribe to anything. With that said, there are also some insanely talented syntographers and hybrid syntographers, be that static or animated graphics on DeviantArt. And this is the whole point, really. Not all AI-generated artwork is bad or lazy, but the cool stuff drowns in the shitty stuff. It's not exactly rocket science. It's much easier to pump out 50 mediocre images than one good one. I know that those people who are very vocal in their battle against the use of generative AI, they will think you're problematic no matter what. There is no point in engaging in a conversation with them because they are fully prepared to die on that hill. And I think we should fucking let them. But for many, their frustration is born out of what I just talked about. And if we as a community learn to exercise some goddamn humility and self-critique, perhaps they could see it's not just images of discount Legolas in a teacup. For the low price of $5 per pop, if you are a paying member supporting the creator's raging mid-journey addiction. Yeah, okay. I know I'm being a right cunt about it right now. But you see, the thing is, take a cup of mindless overflow and add it to your shameless e-begging. Blend for $5. Add a spoonful Delulu and top it off with a pinch of mainstream accessibility. You have yourself a DeviantArt cookie. Tastes like ass, and you might have to get really drunk for it to slide down. In other words, it is very often the same people who flood your feed who want money for what I personally would consider mediocre to subpar effort. And why am I bringing all this up, you may ask? Because we have to dare be critical of our own community. We need to step out of the circle-jerking fights about copyrighted IP and debates about training models to copy someone's style. Not that I don't think these are important talks to have, because it most definitely is. However, if we want to be seen as anything but art cancer, we ought to take a moment to look at how we conduct ourselves out there on the internet, and in doing that, help the newcomers to curb their enthusiasm just a little. As in, there is a time and space for 60 images of a crystal fern, but to drown all your fellow creators, synth-based or not, in your spam. Well, that is just fucking uncool. End of. So, if I had a penny for every time I heard someone say, tag your fucking AI slop, mainly so they can avoid it, I guess. I did talk about the vitriol some of us experienced over time, and this is exactly why many don't tag their stuff. Think about it. Why would they open themselves up for that kind of online fuckery? I don't know a whole lot about the artist community, but I do know about the author community. Many BookTok influencers are like sharks in blood-filled water every time someone is caught using AI or even speaks about using it. For some weird reason, I see most of the hate directed towards authors who use AI somewhere in their process come from these influencers, filtering down to the readers without much resistance. But not from fellow indie authors. Many times I have seen indie authors online shut down tourist griefers on topics such as covers or using AI as your idea and suggestion buddy when world building or planning. And it does give me hope, it really does. It makes me a happy panda to see that we at least can tell the difference between using AI as a tool and publishing an AI book. Come on, man. Nobody likes AI books, they are about as nonsensical as Onision's collected works. I personally think the way many BookTok influencers behave is nothing less than disgraceful. And somehow nobody calls them out for it? I think it's wild. Seriously, I do. Personally, I just ask for the algorithm never to show me that channel again if one is suggested in my feed. Because I really don't care for their bullshit opinion. It's not even the fucking book they have an opinion about, no, it's the author. I might be Gen X, but in my youth, this shit was called malicious gossip, plain and simple. And honestly, it doesn't matter which kind of creative soul you are. If you use any form of AI in your process, regardless of capacity, you think long and hard about if you should disclose it. Many choose not to, and even if I do not personally agree with that, I absolutely understand where you are coming from. Believe me, I do. I understand why it would come off as deceptive to some if you do not tag your stuff. But what those people who ask us to tag AI need to understand is some use this as a way to find and blacklist people solely on the grounds of AI use. Just to stay in the indie author community, I know Goodreads have a list of AI books. This is a mash of books with AI covers and literal AI books in one big bowl of snot. This is what you get if you tag your book with any form of generative AI when you, for instance, publish it on Amazon. I will say there are of course books on this list that is not by indie authors. But by far the majority of titles you find there is either indie authors who decided to disclose the use of generative AI, and shameless grifters who just pump out cookbooks and shit, hoping grandma won't notice this how to avocado book is in fact not worth the paper it's printed on until it already shipped. We don't have to be friends, but the name calling is getting old. We are here, and we are not going away no matter how many subjective semi-truths they repeat into the ether. We don't have to compete because it's apples and oranges, Habibi. With that said, I do need to address how rude I think it is that some Syntographers does not tag their images as AI on DeviantArt. Look, I don't really care if you feel it's AI or not, but it's reflecting super bad on the rest of us. And I suppose you and I don't share vision or goal, and that's fine, I guess. Doesn't change the fact that your fellow Syntographers pay the price for your stupid stubbornness. What good does it do? Unless you are just trolling, I fail to see the purpose of deliberately playing right into the negative narrative. Please understand you won't win that battle, and without your army behind you, you are just Don Quixote fighting windmills. We all are. This is why we need community, because if all Syntographers on DeviantArt one day decided fuck this tagging and stopped using it, then it would matter. But when you do it on your own, it's counterproductive. I already stated that I am not a centrist. I don't strive to find a common goal, not really. What I want is for those people to understand that supportive AI and Syntography is its own beast. And we belong in this space too, regardless of how unwilling they are to give up their current privilege. And what I am trying to say is there's many roads that leads to Rome. The only thing you get from not tagging your stuff as AI on DeviantArt right now is that you come off like a petulant child. I'm not gonna lie, I wish there was a way to filter out anthropomorphic animals with their dicks out. Without filtering out all adult horror content I'm actually there for. Right. Come on, people. Who gives a fuck if someone thinks Syntography isn't real art? It's just a word, let them have it. I don't know about you, but I have no need for it. I would much rather punch a hole in the pitiful wall which allows them to gatekeep the concept of artistic expression. Because I am of the opinion that while art is subjective, artistic expression is not. Either you express a vision or you do not. And with that I mean, was there any form of creative process or not? And even if you make an image with Gemini of Batman in a tutu, you still wrote that prompt because this is what you wanted to create. That is what a creative process is about. You have a vision, you find a tool and make it happen. We can disagree if my outcome is art, but the artistic expression is non-negotiable because even if my outcome fails, the expression and the vision was there. Like that silly slogan they like to throw around, art is human. And I actually agree, art is definitely human. But the honest chat I want is how much human interaction is needed for it to be a human expression. Because by the logic applied to this debate these days, the pencil apparently owns your damn doodle. I think it's time for a story. And I guess it's no big shocker that this story is mine. I remember back when I discovered generative AI images, it was definitely in its infancy. And I suppose I found it because I always made digital graphics and tried to find new methods all the time to make better and cooler stuff. This point in time, there weren't a whole lot of builds out there. I think it was like first gen dall-E and stable diffusion or something like that. Most what you made was absolute rubbish. I dug up a couple of old images just to show you it is fucking rough, okay? Extra faces, extra fingers, arms, and weird AI noise all over the place. There were no models, and it was blood magic if you managed to get any form of consistency. At this point, I had published my first book, and had been writing both fanfiction and original stories for years. At one point, I had written a short story about a forest monster. I mean, I never did state in the original story if it was a sort of Wendigo or perhaps a werewolf. But it's a story about this pretty generic small-town cop who stumbled across an old cold case. And this was the same time text-to-speech was introduced to Microsoft Movie Maker, and look at me go! I recall just how long I spent making those 10 minutes of video. Like, I rewrote the story, admitted I never finished, and now it's like this half-baked ancient project collecting dust on my Google Drive. Spent ages, and I do mean ages. And actually good money too, because this was the reason to me signing up for a paid subscription on Night Cafe. Otherwise it would have taken me months to make half the images I needed. And what I remember the most was not really understanding why none had done this. Like attempted to make their own little stupid storytime movie. In hindsight, it was naive of me. But remember, this was a time when we were all sweet summer children. This video was made in the start of 2023, so none of the tools used were as good as they are today. But still I edited the images, I made the video. When I finished this video, which was supposed to be a teaser to the finished project, I decided it needed something. It needed a soundtrack. What you perhaps ought to know about me is that I do actually know how to play more than one instrument. I am the daughter of a blues musician after all. And so I went hunting for a program which would let me prompt as precisely as possible, and at that point SoundRaw was probably the only site which would let you create anything even close to what I wanted. I was aiming for a sound and a feel that would land between Twin Peaks and Silent Hill, so sort of a mystical ambient jazzy sound. And the track I made, called The Forbidden Box, I edited in Audacity because it was only like 30 seconds long. And so this track is made of several tracks with the same vibe but different tempo. Layer upon layer, and The Forbidden Box was a thing. I recall I was actually pretty damn proud of it, and it was also the reason why I made this YouTube channel, but more on that in a moment. No matter what came after, I still remember the moment I uploaded this video. I was so fucking proud, I felt like I had mastered a whole new thing. I uploaded both this and the music track to my normal YouTube. And I might scoff at it now, but I know back then I felt like I made a breakthrough, showing others what could be done with a little creative vision, willpower, and technical know-how. I had expected to be praised, yeah. I made this, you know. From the story idea to the character concept art to the video structure and the music. All of it, I did that. I had not taken anything from anyone else. I found a way to stretch out over my normal capacity and make something new. A finished, completely unique project. I felt like I made my vision come to life. Which is exactly why I am telling you this story. 'Cause I bet you can guess what happened. I remember uploading it to Facebook, showing it off, talking about how I created it. And nothing. Absolutely fucking nothing. I do mean absolute silence. I would have welcomed crickets. Seriously. I didn't understand it because I had honestly expected not only that people thought it was cool I somehow managed all aspects of the creation, but I had expected to start a trend. Seriously. It's kinda embarrassing, but that was how I felt. I'm however not so easy to knock out, and so I took it down from Facebook but let it stay up on my YouTube. Long story short, I made 2 other story videos with basically the same format but longer and much simpler. I have not attempted anything as ambitious again because it was a massive damn undertaking. Suddenly I noticed these videos gained a load of negative attention, not in the form of rude comments because in all honesty no one ever commented on it, neither good or bad, but in the form of dislikes. I turned off my like to dislike ratio, figuring people hate on videos others hate. But it didn't stop. Eventually I hid them from the surface YouTube, figuring I'd get back to it someday. And that's why I decided to create this channel. I figured it would be for Project Interactive Storytelling. That was seriously how much I believed I found a golden goose egg and the world just wasn't ready or whatever the shit. I sound pretty full of myself, I know. It wasn't like that, not really. But I truly felt like I found something special. Suppose I should show you a minute or something of the actual video.
John Tremblay broke the flimsy seal to remove the lid of the evidence box, which read, Wolf Rock, August 2011. Gabriel Theodore Fournette, in big bold letters. Switching on the light in the silent empty office and examined the inside of the box on his desk. Within were 3 case folders, one thick with files, reports, and documents the responding officers had written, another near empty with crime scene photos, and the last was the statements from the few interviews done. There was also one smartphone and a local map when unfolded had specific locations outlined in black marker. He turned in his chair to make sure he was alone and idly wondered how badly he'd get in trouble if he was caught taking anything out of the evidence without signing for it. He had not worked this case himself, but he was well aware that protocol dictated that the sheriff should have contacted the FBI. But this was a small town. There was nothing here but hopelessness and old money from when the town had a booming sawmill business, employing almost everyone in town. The sawmill had been demolished when he was a young man and nothing had come in its stead. But even before that, the people rarely involved outsiders. This was no exception. The deputy before him had conducted some interrogations not to figure out who the killer was because they were sure of that. No, to ensure everyone had the same story should someone come knocking. This community was full of self-proclaimed pious people with a cornucopia of dirty secrets. Maybe that was the reason why this box was stuffed in the back, hidden from sight. John was sure that was done on purpose. Yesterday he and another deputy, Juliet, who happened to also be the sheriff's daughter, they were called to a crime scene that, apart from the location, was eerily similar to Wolf Rock. So similar, in fact, that Tremblay had mentioned it in passing. Juliet had told him in a hushed conspiratorial voice to forget that thought. Her dad wanted the Fournette case gone and forgotten. Over their rapidly cooling coffee, they waited for the forensic technician to arrive. John had gently pressed Juliet for more information, and Juliet had told him that Pastor Matteo Fournette, Gabriel's dad, had made sure his son's murder was. She had struggled for the right words, so John had helped her. Open and shut? He said, looking quizzically at her. Juliet had nodded in agreement. John knew there was no love lost between her and the pastor, more specifically the pastor's wife. And her next words were laced in acid. He needs the story to be the devil seduced his son, his lost lamb, and paid the price for it. Not attending the pastor's Sunday sermons was social suicide, so everyone was dutifully seated on the pews except Juliet, who refused. John didn't know why. Surely she must have her reasons. He admired her courage, even if he would rather be sleeping, sorting socks, or watching infomercials on TV.
I moved the videos, took them down from my main YouTube and to this channel. And then I happened to speak to someone I knew through the night cafe Discord. I told them how I couldn't understand how the fuck this project belly flopped so badly. And they were absolutely mortified. And I bet you know what they said. They asked me if I was fucking insane. Not only had I launched this AI-riddled video, but I had also listed the programs used, linked to my blog, used my real name which I also use as an author, and worst of all, I had also written AI video in the title. This was nothing less than heresy. Unthinkable that I could be so dumb or ballsy to do something like this. And then I knew why none other had made anything like it. I had not found something epic and new as I had originally thought. No, I had broken all the unspoken laws of being AI apologetic. And instead of being this available, achievable showcase of unbridled creativity I had once believed it was. The sad legacy of this video is a folder of outdated graphics, an unfinished story on my Google Drive, and a handful of people I knew through Night Cafe, who deleted their accounts, blocked me or whatever. But I know why they did it, because they did not want to be associated with anyone who just did what I did. I ended up having to contact the woman who I co-wrote a book with, explaining this to her, and saying I was sorry if it hurt her sales, but if she wanted to, she could remove my name from the front page, I didn't mind. To end the pretty lame tale about my not-so-epic adventure into AI stop-motion, I will just say nothing happened, even the crickets left. I guess you can figure out why I told you this story. Because even if I had to realize my stellar idea wasn't really stellar, I am left with one question. Is this not my video? Was it not my vision, my creative process, and my personal experience and knowledge that made this video? I did not just write a prompt and a video emerged. It was tons of trial and error and compromises due to the limits of the programs available at the time. AI did not make this video. I did. Without me to utilize the programs and pursue the vision, there would have been less than nothing. The story and video still leaves a bad taste in my mouth, but not for any of the reasons you might think. No, because it's a testament to how fucking unfair I think the negative narrative is. And it's a reminder that I don't think anyone in their right mind could argue that I didn't make that video, regardless of the tools I used. If we are to undo the incredibly soul-crushing and also untrue narrative that somehow any use of generative AI somehow sullies your entire work, and now your product is AI. Like for instance, if a game dev used AI to make a backdrop graphic or some custom texture, this suddenly nullifies their work because suddenly it's not about the dev spending 3 years making their vision into a product. No, now it's just an AI game. It's not fair, and it's not even remotely true or okay by any standard. We have to realize there is no logic applied, it's all emotional. In other words, I don't even think they believe this themselves. I think they punish us. I think they just hate AI, and if you use it, they hate you too. It doesn't matter how little or much, for what or why. It's just the fact it's there which prompts reaction. They don't care if your artwork is visionary, or if your game is good, or if your book is complex and well-structured. They care that you are one of the bad guys, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's not even gatekeeping, it's a crusade for the righteously creative or some shit. As I said earlier, you can't debate with a rock why it's a rock. Just is, and perhaps we should leave those people be in their existential dread and focus on what is important, namely to take back the narrative. What I am hoping to achieve with this video is to both address some issues that we need to sort among ourselves if we want recognition for the creativity we bring to the table. For what it's worth, I'm sorry it makes them uncomfortable. But I fail to see how it's my problem. And the keen listener will have picked up on me continuously calling a whole group of individuals, them, they, those, on purpose for just about 30 minutes now. This is my tiny rebellion because for as long as they group me and you up with the kind of people who make deep fake revenge porn, dubious content farm videos with surface child appeal and the like, I reserve the right to address this group of individuals as them, they, those. The negative narrative's purpose is to take our individuality and basically question our humanity. I don't see why we can't hold up a mirror. And just like that, we made it to the end of this video. My statements stand. If we want to be taken seriously, we have to start with ourselves instead of getting distracted by the opposition. We have to acknowledge there's definitely room for improvement in regards to our fellow syntographers' conduct online, and we need to take back the narrative and own the creative support creatives because regardless of what they claim, it is not what I see them do in action. Also, I want to mention that I actually have great respect for traditional art. The reason I don't want to pick up a fucking pen is because I prefer this, my method. Pretty simple, really. But it doesn't mean I hate traditional media, it just means I don't want to use it. Creativity is not defined by the media you select, it's defined by you and the purpose you assign to it. And if we keep speaking our truth, not giving in to bully tactics, gaslighting, guilt-tripping, or spam messages, that is the best we can do. I'm here, man. I got you.